Aw, look at this family. What a picture-perfect family. Here's the mom, here's the dad, and oh boy, what a lovely batch of awesome science that they cooked up. This family is pretty awesome if we want to talk about genetics. So, these two young ladies here, Maria and Lucy, they're twins. Yup, they're twins. Chew on that for a moment, because holy cow, this is a jungle of genetics that we gotta sift through. We're gonna use a little bit of observation. It's a kind of a necessary skill for science. It's gonna be our guide to understanding what's going on here. First of all, I need to be upfront about a couple of things to make sure this information all makes sense. First of all, Maria and Lucy, they're fraternal twins. Fraternal twins, not identical twins. There's different types of twins. A fraternal twin is where two eggs are fertilized by two different sperm. Identical twins comes when one sperm is fertilized by one egg, but one sperm fertilizes one egg. But in the process of dividing from one cell to two cells to four cells, etc., something happens and the clump of cells splits off into two clumps of cells. Those are identical twins because those same cells those two different clumps of cells are made from the same genetics. So different types of twins, fraternal twins, identical twins. So these two girls are fraternal twins. They were fertilized by they were two eggs fertilized by two different sperm. So one other piece of information that we need to know: the mother is half Jamaican, so she has a white parent and a black parent. That will be important when we start talking about the skin color that these children have. So let's get back to the genetic analysis of this family using our all-powerful tool of science, observation. First of all, they clearly have differing genetics. When it comes to skin and hair, let's start there. Mother Donna has a significantly darker skin tone than the father, Vince. We're going to use a genetic analysis tool called a Punnett Square to help us analyze how these kids are getting the genetics that they are receiving. So on the top here, we're going to put the father, and on the right side here we've got the mother. So if we look at their genetic makeup, remember that both the father and the mother both got two sets of genes. The father, he must have had a father and a mother himself, and the mother, she also had a father and a mother. So they both the parents have two sets of genes. They can only give one of those genes to their children though. So if we're going to talk hair color, the father got two sets of genes for hair color, one from his father and one from his mother. He can only pass on one of those two to his children. The mother, same boat. She got a gene for hair color from her father, and she also got a gene for hair color from her mother. She can only pass on one of those two genes to her potential children. So we can, with this little setup, we can kind of explore what the outcomes, the four possible outcomes for the children could be. The mother, remember the mother in this family is half Jamaican. So she has one parent that has black skin color and one parent that has white skin color. So we'll use a B for black skin colored and a W for white skin colored. The father had two parents that were white skinned, so his father would have given him a white skin color gene, and his mother would have also given him a white colored skin gene. So now imagine the father is going to pass on one of these two genes to his children. The mother is going to pass on one of these two genes to her children. So there are four different possible outcomes of these combinations. The mother could pass on the skin color for darker skin tones, and the father would pass on a skin color for lighter skin tones. The mother in this case could also pass on the black skin colored, and the father would pass on a white one. Some other possibilities: the mother could pass on a white skin color, and the father also, and then so on and so forth. And these are the 4 possible outcomes of the children that these two parents could put together. In half of the cases, the children would receive one set of genetics that codes for darker skin tone, and one set of genetics that codes for a lighter skin tone. So half the children would get that. This combination, the same combination that the mother has, actually. The father, the other half of the children would receive 2 sets of genes that code for lighter skin color. I think at this point you'd probably be able to look back at the picture of the parents and realize where all of that variety between their children is coming from. Obviously, some children are going to receive a mixture of genes, and some children are going to receive a little bit more homogeny between the genes, the same genes. So here's a really interesting part here. When a child is given a combination of genes, how does your body decide which gene is going to be expressed? How does your body decide which skin color to go with? Is it going to be just the black colored skin? Is it going to be white colored skin? Or is it going to be a combination of the 2 of them? The answer to that is complicated. Let me introduce to you dominance. Yes, that is right. Some genes can dominate over other genes, which means that one gene would get expressed. Let's imagine in the mother's case here, the black skin colored gene is the one that gets expressed, and the other one is kind of hidden. So the one that is being expressed, the one that is dominating the other one, this is called the dominant gene. The other one that is hidden, so to speak, is called a recessive gene. So the mother doesn't actually show signs of having that gene whatsoever. She doesn't show signs that she has a white skin colored gene. It doesn't take much investigation into her family history to find out that she does in fact have a white skin colored gene, but that means this is kind of hidden. Underneath her genes, one of this other gene is dominating. It's making this other one seem to disappear. The only way that a recessive gene like this one can get expressed, in other words, the only way that a baby would have this recessive gene, the only way we could see that hidden gene, is if there's nothing there to dominate it. In other words, the only 2 genes they got, one from mom, one from dad, were both recessive. So like in these cases, the kids that receive a white skin colored gene from father and a white skin colored gene from mother, those children would express the white skin colored gene. They would have white skin. So we need to fix up our Punnett Square a little bit at this point, because we don't use, when we're talking about one gene like skin color, we don't use different symbols like that. We use the same symbol, but instead of different letters, we use the same letter, just with whether it's capitalized or not. So if a gene is dominant, like in the case with the mother, the black skin colored gene is the dominant one, it gets a capital letter. So we'll designate this skin color as S. She also has a recessive gene, the one that isn't available, as a lowercase s. The father has 2 white skin colored genes, so they are both little s's, like this. So when we combine these together, the mother contributes in half of her children, she would contribute a black skin color gene, and the father, in half of his cases, would contribute a or half of his cases he would contribute this white skin color gene. In the other half of the father's cases, he would contribute his other white skin color gene. The consequence is that they end up being similar. The mother, in her other half, would give up her white skin color gene, and in combination with the father, who also has white skin color genes, this is how the Punnett square would turn out. Similar to the other way that I had it, but this is the more professional way of demonstrating Punnett squares, using capital letters and lowercase letters, using a letter that is semi-representative of the gene that you're looking for. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there is more. Yes, there's more. So, remember my wife and my child? There's more than just one white skin color gene. There's, like, I'm sure you can look around any classroom, any room, go to a mall or restaurant, and you can look around and see that that white skin colored people have different tones, in the same way that black skin colored people have different tones. Every skin color, there's varieties within those different groups. So, in my case, with my son and my wife, my white skin colored gene and my wife's brown skin colored gene, when we made our baby, that cute little bugger, when he came out, he didn't get her skin color and he didn't get my skin color. He, interestingly enough, has a mixture between the two of us. That is called incomplete dominance. It's when you have two genes that are competing with each other, and they're both trying to dominate over each other, and when they're both trying to dominate, neither of them gets expressed. At least not in its entirety. So neither is hidden, but neither is in complete control either. So it's called incomplete dominance. Genetics is hard. Like, oh my God, facepalm hard. There's a reason why scientists have only just begun using genetics in common medical practice. Genetics is just so hard. Just to give you a little bit more of an idea of how hard it is, it's never just so simple to say, well, the dad contributes, the dad has these two possibles, and the mom has these two possible outcomes. It's never that simple. Genes have a way of impacting each other, so separate genes can impact different things. So hair color usually isn't just one set of genes. There's a combination of genes. And the second you start talking about multiple genes, even let's look at a Punnett square with 2 genes in consideration. Instead of 4 possible outcomes, there are 16 possible outcomes that that the kids could possibly look at. And that's just 2. If you bump it up to 3, it starts getting a little crazy. Punnett squares start getting really complicated. Remember that humans have over 10,000 genes, and many of them impact each other. So genetics, it's never just a choice A, choice B result. It's a lot deeper than that. But hey, anyway, this is only introductory genetics. You don't have to fret about that yet. Let's have a little bit of fun with some genetic outcomes here. We can still explore this topic quite reasonably well. So there are different, we're going to talk about some of the different types of genes. We already talked about dominance. So there is dominating genes, there's recessive genes, the hidden ones, and then there's incomplete dominance, where 2 genes are kind of competing with each other, and neither of them kind of wins, and you end up with these mixtures. Let's talk about a different type of categorization for different genes. So, for example, let's look at tongue rolling. Some of you guys can roll your tongue, some of you can't. Like that kind of rolling, where your tongue bends over on itself. Another type of gene that some people can do, some people can't, is a hitchhiker's thumb. A hitchhiker's thumb is where you can bend your thumb back almost 90 degrees. Mine does not do that. I do not have a hitchhiker's thumb, but many people do. Many people, when you try and bend your thumb back, it keeps going, and it goes about 90 degrees back. Rolling your tongue and hitchhiker's thumb, because that can be placed in distinct categories, you can or can't. That is called a discrete variation. Discrete variations means that you can put it in specific categories. Eye color is another one. Blue, green, brown, and so on. There's distinct categories that you place the genes into. Another type, the opposite of discrete variations, are continuous ones. So ones that have a huge variety of possibilities. For example, height. I know we say that people are 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". That sounds like you can categorize it, but really those people are not exactly 6'2". They don't wake up the next day and suddenly pop up to 6'3". There's a continuation, there's a growth, there's everything in between. They literally have to go through every single digit in between 6.2 and 6.3 if they want to grow that extra inch. So anybody that's 6'2", like myself, anybody else that says they're also 6'2", if we were to actually compare each other right down to like the micrometer, we would all be different. It's very unlikely that two people that say they're 6'2" are actually the exact same height. They're very, very similar, but because you can't really place height in a specific category like that, we kind of make up categories when we say 6'2", 6'3", 5'1", whatever height you say you are. You're actually a little bit different from that. You might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more. So because there's no specific category we can say, kind of like with your hitchhiker's thumb, you either can move it all the way back or you can't. There's no in between. You do it or don't. With height, there's everything in between. So discrete variations are where you have specific categories. Continuous variations are where you have a huge variety of possibilities. Let's finish up here and talk about what we've chatted about so far today. First of all, genes are things that are inherited, things that you pass on to your children, or things that you've received from your parents. We look at those handy-dandy Punnett Squares when we want to try and predict what what types of genes the parents might pass on to their children, and therefore kind of come up with an idea of what the children might look like. And then we talked about some of the different types of genes that can be inherited. We talked about whether genes can dominate over each other or not. So there's dominating genes and recessive genes. A dominating gene is one that will mask the other one, will actually hide one of the other genes, and that is the only one that you see. A recessive gene is one that the only way that you can see it is if you have two recessive genes. You got the recessive gene from mom, you got the recessive gene from dad, there's nothing dominating it, then you can see recessive genes. Sometimes there's genes that will incompletely dominate. They will not completely control each other, and then you end up with a mixture between the two. Finally, we talked about categorizing genes, discrete variations and continuous variations. Discrete ones are ones that you can put into specific categories, like the hitchhiker's thumb. You either can or can't do it. You either can or can't roll your tongue. Continuous variations are ones that have a wide variety of possibilities, like height or width or like arm length. Lots and lots of things to choose from there. So that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.